Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to my session today, where I'm going to share with you the 5 key skills that you need to be able to be a great project manager. Whether you are new or whether you are an established project manager in your role, or whether you're somebody who is wanting to get into leadership roles, right? And the skills that I'm going to share with you, or the tips that I'm going to share with you, will be applicable across the board. So please do take note, because these are the 5 key things that have helped me to accelerate my career from a junior position to a high paid project manager, a respected project manager, but also a respected leader, not just a project manager, but also a leader in an organization. Now, so a lot of you may be thinking, do I have what it takes to be a project manager? Do I have the right skills to be a project manager? Will I be able to do a great job? Will people be able to give me the respect that I need? How will I know that I'm doing a great job? So don't you worry, I've got your back today. And I'm going to share with you exactly what you need to do to establish yourself so that you can be a respected project manager and you can be a great project manager, a great leader in your organization. I've got some notes with me today, so I'm going to be looking on my phone. So I've done a bit of research so that I can share with you information that is of good quality and information that will help you to transform your career. Now, a lot of people will talk about, if you want to be a great project manager, you need to be a great communicator, you need to be good at managing budgets, getting people to do what they're supposed to be doing, sticking to deadlines, all of that. Yes, they are great. They are prerequisites to be a great project manager. However, there are simple things that we forget to do, or that we forget to implement, so that we can actually be able to deliver on all of those things that are good for you to be seen as a great project manager. Number 1, you need to understand your job description. I mean, really look into your skills and against the job description, so that you can be able to really have a conversation with your manager to look at what is their key priorities. What is it that they want you to be focusing on? Because what you may think is a priority may not necessarily be the priority of your manager. So you need to have a conversation with your boss. You need to get to understand how they operate. How do they work? How much do they want to be involved in the work that you're doing? How often do they want you to be updating them on the progress of the work that you're doing? So you need to establish those relationships very early on, so that you don't have problems later on. Some managers are hands-off managers. Some managers want to be updated. They want to be involved all the way through the project. So you need to establish, what does that look like for your manager in order for you to establish a good working relationship. And if your manager is a micromanager, you need to understand, how do you work around that? How do you win them over for them to be able to trust you as a competent project manager or as a competent leader, so that you don't end up having any difficulties later on down the line. So please make sure you spend some time getting to know your manager, because if you don't do that, it will make your life a lot difficult later on down the line, when you haven't got a solid foundation or a solid background with your line manager. Those things are really important. You need to know, what are the core hours of the business? Is it 10 till 4 where you are supposed to be online? When do they expect you to be in the office? So all of those things, annual leave, how soon do you need to be requesting your annual leave? All of those things will help you to establish that long-term working relationship with your manager. Okay, so that's number 1, is understand your job description. What does it mean? And number 2 is understand the organization, okay? The journey they've been through, and also the journey that your team has been through. Those things are really important, because what you don't want to do is to start criticizing the organization, how horrible they are, how unorganized they are, how everything is all over the place. They don't have any tracking mechanism. They don't have any reporting mechanism. They don't have any project management tools. It's very important for you to understand the problem, why you are there. They've hired you for a reason. And the reason is something is not working and they need you to be there to deliver. So what you need to do is to do a bit of background search, do some reading, be inquisitive, find out the history of the organization, find out what they stand for, and find out how your job description that I've spoken about in number 1, how it links with that organizational strategic direction or strategic goals or strategic objective. Okay, so understand the organization. Do not criticize your predecessor. Do not say, oh, well, I'll find out these things are not working. They were not doing this. This was not in place. It's not good practice. You are not selling yourself in good light. Take your time. There is a temptation for you to be wanting to implement all sorts of different things as soon as you get in. Take your time to study the organization, study your team members, how they work, how they function, all right? A lot of them would have been through some changes that have been painful. A lot of them may be grieving for the loss of their your predecessor. So it's very important for you to take your time. Don't criticize. Also, don't talk negatively or don't say how great where you came from, how things were so organized, or how bad things were where you came from. Always bear that in mind. You are now a leader and you are there to make an impact and you are there to make a good impression. Number 3, right? You also need to remember you are not there to be popular. When you have been hired as a project manager, or you've been hired as a leader, or as a manager, senior, middle leader, middle manager, right? You are not there to be liked by your team, but remember that you are there to be fair, to be respected, through your consistency, through how you are fair with your team members. So try not to have your favorites in the team. Try not to gossip with your team members. Always be consistent and always be professional. And if you've got a way of communicating with your team, always make sure that you are consistent with that communication method or with that communication channel. Because what you don't want to happen is that you have different scenarios or different ways of communicating with your team members. Because what that may look like is you are doing favoritism. And as a leader, you don't want that to happen. In fact, what you should be doing is to identifying some gaps of improvement. So you're observing, have a look in areas where your predecessor may not have been good at, or things that they haven't implemented. So what you then need to do is to be keeping a track, keeping a log of the things that you think there's a gap here. These are the areas maybe I can make an improvement. But what you're doing at the moment is to take notes. Keep track of those things because you are going to use them to your advantage for you to shine. Okay, right. So number 3 was you are not trying to be popular. You're not trying to be friendly with people. Yes, it's good to be friendly with your coworkers, but know your limits. Have a balance to your management style, right? Because what you're needing to do is to establish trust, respect, and being fair and honest in the way that you're working with your colleagues, right? So that's number 3. Number 4, do not try to implement any changes. In the first month, do not try to implement any changes. What you need to do is observe, talk to a lot of people, understand the pain points, what the team has been through, the journey that I spoken to earlier, the journey they've been through. Understand that, right? Take your time to understand what is the golden hour for the team. And when I say the golden hour, I mean, what is the best time for the team to have meetings? You may have people who are offshore, who may not have the same time zones as yourself. So you need to come to an understanding. Don't make any changes. Number 4 is changes. Avoid them. Do not implement any change in the first month. Take your time. It's your time to do your induction. It's your time to meet other heads of services, to meet your teams, to team colleagues, team members, to be studying your manager as well. Study your team members. Understand what they're like. Understand them What makes them tick? What makes them going? What are some of the challenges they've had in the past? So by doing that, you are now identifying how you are going to be helping them along the journey, how you are going to be helping them with your changes. Because what you don't want to do is to start making changes immediately as you get into the organization. You are not going to make yourself any popular. You are not doing yourself any favors. You are going to be met with a lot of resistance, right? From your team members, from your manager. A lot of people may have some of their issues as well around their own self-confidence, worrying about their jobs. Already they've lost their manager who was there before, and you are there to start implementing changes. It's not good practice. Hold on your changes. Instead, use that time to identify, collate information so that you can be able to identify where the gaps are. And then you can work out on how you are going to be implementing those changes. Again, communicate with your team on your findings, communicate on possible solutions that you may have thought of, get their buy-in so that you can carry them along through those changes, because change can be unsettling for many people. And what you don't want to do is to create resistance where you're not going to get people to work with you with your changes that you're going to be implementing. What you need to be doing is first impression, creating respect, trust, consistency with your team members. That's what you need to be. Do what you say you're going to do. Write notes, make sure that you remember people's names, make sure that you remember some of their hobbies. Just try to build a rapport with them so that it makes your life a lot easier later on down the line when you actually start executing on projects. Okay, number 5, the last tip that I'm going to give you today. Okay, let me have a look. Number 5 is don't be too harsh on people. Don't be too harsh on your team members. Give them grace, okay? Give them grace. And what I mean by that is if somebody say they're going to do something by a certain date, they're going to provide you information by a certain date, okay, and they don't provide that information or they don't work on that deliverable by that certain date they have signed up to, what you need to do is, first and foremost, you need to understand there may be reasons why they are not able or they were not able to deliver to that expected deadline. Once you have built a relationship with your team, you'll be able to understand some people may have gone through a relationship background, maybe children will be not feeling well. There may be different reasons why somebody has not been able to deliver. My tip is, instead of sending them an email to say, oh, you haven't delivered, I haven't received such a deliverable that you had committed to deliver by a certain time and date, I would suggest, if they repeatedly do that, I would suggest have a meeting with them to understand if there are any reasons why they are not able to deliver to the things that they have committed to deliver. You always need to understand there always is a background story. But if there isn't a background story, then there's some management channels, some HR channels that you can follow. But in the first instance, because you're still trying to establish a relationship with these people, try to make sure that you're understanding your team, understand why maybe they're not able to deliver to the expectation, so that you can be able to find out maybe leeway in how you are going to be expecting something from them, always leeway in terms of how you are going to be communicating with them. So what I would say is, in summary, on top of being organized, being a good communicator, being great with budgeting, being a good negotiator, being flexible, and all of that, first and foremost, if you're wanting to be a great project manager, understand your job description is very important. Understand how your manager works, understand the expectation, okay? Number 2, understand the organization, understand the journey they've been on and the journey that they're going on, all right? Because that will help you to link the journey, the expectations, the objectives from the organization to your job description. Okay, number 3, avoid changes. Do not introduce changes like as soon as you walk in. Give yourself time to study your organization, study your team, study your manager, how you are going to be engaging with them going forward. Okay. Number 4 is, let's have a look. Number 4. Number 4 is don't aim to be popular. You don't want to be popular. That's not your job to be there. Your job is to gain respect, trust from your team, and also being fair and honest with your team members. If you build on those foundations, they will help you to then be you are going to be popular because you are a fair, you are trustworthy, you are honest with your team. Okay, so start building on those things first before you can want to be liked by everybody, before you want to be popular in the organization. That's not the point. The point is you need to lead by example. There are certain behaviors that you need to be demonstrating for you to then gain trust, respect, and be fair with your team members. Okay. And then number 5 is have people skills. Be lenient with your team. Give your team grace to start with. Understand your team and give them grace when they are not able to deliver on certain things that they've said they are going to deliver. There will be a reason why they've not been able to deliver. So try to understand the root cause before you start, going all guns blazing with emails and copying in the whole village and their aunties and uncles. Try not to do that first and foremost. Understand your team. Some of them may be going through difficult times, and it may be just a bad time, okay? So be understanding, be flexible, have some soft skills when you're communicating with your team. That will help you. The soft skills will be, don't be too harsh on people. Find out how people prefer to be communicated, because that way will help you to build a much better rapport with your immediate team and also with your external people who are outside of your team. So I hope you'll be able to realize that you don't necessarily need to know how to create a best project plan, how to create the best templates for status reports, risk log, raid log. You don't need to worry about that. Yes, they're important, but those 5 things that I've told you, that I've shared with you, are the basic minimum requirements to start with before you can worry about status reports, raid logs, and project plan. They are all important in project management, right? But to build your foundations, you need to focus on those 5 things. Have a lovely weekend, and I do hope that you found this useful, and please do exercise that. And do not be discouraged that you cannot be a leader. Do not be discouraged that you cannot be a project manager. All you need to do is to be able to follow those 5 things. They are the ones that have helped me to accelerate my career, to settle in my team, to be able to deliver on quality projects where people respect, trust, and where you've got a good rapport with your team. Okay, have a great weekend, and I'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.